At around 1 a.m. on a November night in 2016, a family in Loxahatchee, Florida, awoke to a real-life nightmare. A horrific scene unfolded. Screams filled the house, urging someone to call 911 as a young man lay dying in his bedroom. From the house emerged 3 survivors: a distraught mother, her boyfriend, and the victim's best friend. But they claimed there had been a 4th person. Someone who somehow managed to enter the locked house in the middle of the night, commit the murder, and then escape without a trace. Today's case takes several unexpected turns. It's filled with disputed evidence, shocking statements, and false allegations. In the end, the truth is unsettling, but undeniable. This is The Vanishing Record. Let's take a closer look. Just before 1 a.m. on November 16, 2016, an emergency call was placed from a home on Glasgow Drive in Loxahatchee, Florida. The caller, 56-year-old Nicola Berry, was frantic. She had awoken to chaos and found her 21-year-old son, James Berry, badly injured in his bedroom. When deputies arrived, they found 3 adults in the house with James, his mother, Nicola, who had called 911, her live-in boyfriend, Guy Hand, and James's best friend, Jeff Jaroszewski, who had been staying the night. Inside the home, responders discovered James lying on his bed. Guy was performing CPR when paramedics rushed in. They moved James to the floor and continued life-saving efforts. But it was too late. 21-year-old James Berry was pronounced dead at the scene. He had suffered multiple stab wounds, including fatal injuries to his chest. Nicola, Guy, and Jeff were escorted out of the house to the roadside, where a neighbor met them to offer comfort. Both Guy and Jeff showed traces of the brutal attack, bloodstains on their hands, arms, and clothes, the result of their desperate attempts to save James before help arrived. Inside the kitchen, investigators found a carving knife with a white handle and a 10-inch curved blade. It was covered in blood and resting on the counter. A trail of blood led from the kitchen, down the hallway, and into the bedroom where James had been found. As they waited for detectives to arrive, the shaken group outside began to speculate about what had happened just moments earlier. Despite the confusion and horror of the night, a single theory began to form almost immediately. Someone else must have entered the locked house while they slept, and that someone, they believed, was James's 19-year-old girlfriend, Melanie Eum. Jeff told deputies that James had been messaging Melanie earlier that evening and that an argument had taken place. According to Jeff, James had been trying to end the relationship. Around 8 or 8:30 p.m., Melanie had shown up at the house uninvited, but left shortly after. The group believed she must have returned later that night.
And then he saw her out there, and he texted her telling her to go away. She saw your car, she pulled in here, she backed up, and she went that way. She didn't get out of the car, unless someone was driving her. How does she know how to get through the unlocked door when there is no key?
Here, talk to Jeff.
2 nights ago, she came in over here again, and then James heard and thought someone was trying to break in, and then he saw her when he looked out the window, and then he texted her saying, "Go away or we're done, we're over, go away." This is disrespectful.
So why didn't he tell me that?
He just told me today, like right before I fell asleep.
Tell me that. Jesus.
God.
I have a psycho living in a state.
She's always been fucking psycho, always.
She killed him. She. Because this lady.
Do y'all want her address?
We'll have detectives coming out. They'll talk to you when they get here, okay?
Guy reported that he locked all the doors to the house every night. If James had already told Melanie to leave once, it seemed unlikely that he would have let her back in later. So how did Melanie get inside? There were no signs of forced entry. The front door was locked, and so was the side door that connected to the patio. However, The back door was found, standing open. No one could explain how Melanie might have unlocked that door to enter the home. Guy speculated that she may have stolen a key or perhaps broken in through the garage.
And if she stole a key, she would know if she took a key off the key ring. She wouldn't have time to put that key back on the key ring, would she? Is she that fucking smart?
You know what? That would actually make perfect sense. Because I remember waking up. I'm not sure what time it was, but it was probably like 11 or 12.
So he must have come out to meet her, and she has a knife ready.
Yeah, she come in the front door.
Yeah, that's why the front door
that
was
actually
open.
makes perfect sense.
It appeared that the attack began in the kitchen and continued into the bedroom. The presumed murder weapon, the carving knife, was likely carried back into the kitchen and left behind. Investigators quickly determined that the knife had been taken from inside the house. It belonged to Guy Hand's personal collection. A butcher by trade, Guy owned several large knives that were kept in the home. In fact, he had used this very knife just hours earlier to carve their roast for dinner. Its usual place was in the second drawer down in the kitchen, right next to the stove.
And you said those knives were hidden, right?
Yeah,
No, they're in the second drawer by the
Yeah, we're
refrigerator.
from-
So
all the
that's
way
very
over.
specific. So
She knows
She
where
knows where my
everything
knives are. I
stays
keep
there.
two knives in there, an 8-inch one and then a 12-inch one.
and she knows that house better than anyone.
Outside, near the open back door on the patio table, investigators spotted a cell phone in a pink case. Beside it, there were small drops of a blood-like substance. Later, testing confirmed the stains were indeed blood, and that the phone belonged to Melanie Eum. James Barry and Melanie Eum had been high school sweethearts. They first met through mutual friends in the same social circle and quickly bonded over their shared love of gaming. They spent countless hours playing together online, and eventually, James gathered the courage to ask her on a date. From there, their romance grew fast. They became inseparable. James's older sister, Alexandra, said the family was initially happy for him and warmly welcomed Melanie into their lives. A shy and quiet girl, Melanie often baked or cooked special meals at the Barry home, spending holidays and weekends with James's family in Loxahatchee, Florida. After his parents' divorce, James lived with his mother, Nicola Barry, and her boyfriend, Guy Hand. When James graduated from high school, he enrolled at Palm Beach State College. And soon after, Melanie followed in his footsteps. Though younger, she earned her GED and joined the same program to be closer to him. After 2 years together, however, the relationship became rocky, a cycle of breaking up and getting back together. Messages exchanged in the hours before the murder revealed that James was trying to end things for good. While playing video games with his friend Jeff Jarzbakowski that night, James was also messaging Melanie through a gaming app. He wrote, "It might be better for us to split and just focus on ourselves, rather than worrying about each other constantly." Melanie had grown increasingly jealous over one of James's ex-girlfriends. James tried to reassure her, saying, "But honestly, are you and me really happy? I'm not going back to my ex, don't worry about that. But we need to face the truth. We're not happy." Melanie, however, didn't accept it. She replied, "I thought you were happy with me before the past few days." James responded, "Melanie, I type my feelings better than I can explain them in person. I'm not happy at all anymore." Her final message read, "Thanks for leaving me through a league chat." Though the exchange sounded like a breakup, investigators believed Melanie was unwilling to let go. James may not have wanted to confront her in person, but she clearly had other plans. 3 hours after sending that last message, around midnight on November 16, 2016, Melanie's car was spotted parked in front of James's home on Glasgow Drive. As law enforcement processed the crime scene, they began searching for her. When officers went to her parents' house, Melanie was nowhere to be found. Her parents were shocked that police were even looking for her, insisting there was no way she could have been involved. But they were also deeply concerned because they had no idea where she was.
You know, my body just numb, and we couldn't sleep, we cannot eat. We just like a dream. I mean, like you wake up and say it cannot happen.
Declaring her only as a person of interest in her ex-boyfriend's murder, law enforcement issued a public plea for help in locating Melanie. Meanwhile, investigators began checking traffic cameras for any sign of her car. They quickly got a few hits. Melanie had driven through the night all the way to Maryland. Officers learned that she had relatives living there, an uncle and some cousins. Authorities in Maryland were dispatched to search the area near their home, and before long, they found her vehicle.
Oh shit, it's here. I see it. Is it? Hold on. Yes, it's here. Come here. Hold on. Call Sarge now. Let me call her.
Maryland officers were not directly involved in the homicide investigation. Their instructions were simple: locate, verify, and seize the Toyota Corolla, reportedly due to unpaid tolls. Their next task was to confirm that Melanie Eum was inside the house, safe, unharmed, and not preparing to flee.
We're just concerned about her. We gotta call.
All right, I'm sitting in Sherwood for unrelated reasons. So
unfortunately,
the one of the units wants to break off. I can serve as a backup if needed.
Like they have to take the tag or something like that, so we're gonna tow the vehicle.
I guess you're curious about what's going on?
What is the, I mean, what is...
No, so right now all it is like I said, we got a call to check the welfare of guests of, is Melanie's here. So they just said, hey, you know, some stuff happened, pretty much family got concerned. They just wanted us to come and make sure she's fine, like in the right state of mind and everything like that. So is it cool if she comes out and talks to us real briefly? Like I said, we just need to make sure everything is fine with her emotionally.
I don't know if we're going to talk, but maybe you can see her. I'll just let her come on here.
I mean, is it cool if we go in? Like I said, it's just to make sure physically she's fine is all. That's it. Or if she doesn't want us to come in, if she comes to come out.
I'll just have her come to the door.
Okay, that works. Hey, do what you got to do, Monk. I appreciate it.
Melanie didn't seem surprised when she stepped out of the house and came face to face with the officers. It was as if she already knew why they were there. The officers, on the other hand, clearly didn't have the full picture.
Hi, Melanie.
We just gotta call to make sure that you're okay. We just gotta some people concerned about you. This work or something. So
400, I'm driving my head that way till here further.
okay, all right.
Okay.
We just need to check you.
So we'll come back and knock on your door, Monk, and give you all the information. You have any questions for us, Melanie?
I'm just wondering when should I go in for the questioning?
I don't know anything about that.
Yeah, we haven't been told anything. Like I said, they just wanted us to talk to you about, make sure physically and emotionally you were fine is all. Okay? You have any other questions for us? What's going on, Melanie?
I'm just scared.
Okay. What are you scared about? Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Well, like I said, we'll be right back. If you have any further questions for us, like I said, we'll be back to knock on the door. If anything comes up in between that time, please don't hesitate to ask us or let us know what's going on. Okay?
Thank you.
Detective Oliver from Palm Beach County traveled to Maryland to meet with Melanie. Her cousin allowed the detective and his colleague inside the home. Once there, Detective Oliver began recording on his phone. He stated that his intention was not to arrest the teenager, but simply to take her statement. Because of that, Melanie was not read her Miranda rights.
Would I be provided with the lawyer and stuff if I say anything?
Are you going to be? We're not going to provide you with one. You're just going to come to the station and talk to me.
We're just going to talk to you. We're going to bring you right back. You're not under arrest.
Detective Oliver offered to speak with Melanie at the kitchen table inside her uncle's home. Two of her cousins were present during the conversation.
Basically, everything shows that you just drove over there with the intention of killing James, which is really bad. But if it's something like heat of the moment, passion, You were trying to defend yourself. This is your opportunity, because you're not going to get another opportunity, most likely. This is your opportunity right now.
With the family dog whimpering softly in the background, Melanie explained that she went to James's house that night just to talk to him. He was breaking up with her, but she refused to believe that he didn't love her anymore.
And then on the chat, he said he wanted to speak in person.
Okay.
So I went over there. I wanted to speak with him.
What put you over the edge, you think? Just because he broke your heart, I'm guessing.
I felt like it was going to strike.
When you used the knife on him, was your intention just to kind of scare him? Or you didn't want to kill him, did you? Just tell me that you didn't want to kill him.
No, I didn't mean to. When I went off, I thought he would be okay.
She told Detective Oliver that she had taken the knife from a drawer in the kitchen. Melanie knew exactly where all the cutlery and cooking utensils were kept. Before running from the house, she said she threw the knife somewhere inside the room. More than once, Melanie insisted that she didn't realize how badly James had been hurt. She thought he would be okay and didn't think it was that serious. Even so, she fled the scene and drove all the way to Maryland, stopping only once at a Walmart to buy a new cell phone. She knew better than to go back to the house to retrieve the one she had left behind. Melanie was eventually extradited to Florida, where she was held without bond while awaiting trial. She faced charges of manslaughter and second-degree murder and pleaded not guilty.
It was a horrific crime, but right now we're going forward in terms of the justice part of the equation. And I'm glad that Melanie is in jail without bond at this stage of the game so we can move forward.
Melanie's attorney, Bruce Lair, quickly filed a motion to have her recorded confession excluded from the trial evidence. Lair argued that common sense showed the confession Melanie gave to Detective Oliver wasn't truly her own words, but rather the result of his leading questions. He claimed the detective had guided her toward admitting guilt based on his own assumptions about the case, that she was a rejected girlfriend who had stabbed James to death in a fit of rage.
I'm saying that my client gave an alleged confession in violation of her constitutional rights and therefore should be suppressed.
The state countered that there was no need to read Melanie her rights because she was not under arrest. Detectives had told her multiple times that she was free to leave at any point, and no one in the house ever asked them to go. At the end of the interview, Detective Oliver asked Melanie if she had felt comfortable during their conversation, and she said yes.
Did you feel like uncomfortable talking to me?
No, actually, it was very comfortable.
Okay.
Oh, more comfortable than I expected.
Okay. Yeah, you know, try not to disrespect, to try to make it as comfortable as possible. And
attempts to have the confession suppressed ultimately failed. Melanie Eum stood trial in the fall of 2018. Her defense team came out swinging with a new theory of the crime. From the moment first responders arrived on scene, the defense argued, all fingers pointed to Melanie. An unusual and flawed approach to an investigation where 3 adults were found with the victim inside a locked house. Attorney Lear accused Nicola Berry's boyfriend, Guy Hand, of being the real killer, claiming he murdered James, staged the cell phone evidence to frame Melanie, and covered up key details afterward. He argued that while Melanie was indeed present in the house that night, her involvement was only as a witness, not a participant. The shirt she had been wearing tested positive for James's blood on the cuff of her right sleeve. Blood was also found on the gear shift of her Toyota Corolla, which had been seen parked outside the house that night. According to the defense, these traces were explained by her being there and witnessing the attack. They claimed Melanie had been in the room and saw Guy Hand strike James before fleeing in terror from the horrific scene she had just witnessed.
The evidence will show that Guy Hand, for some reason, took a Valium that night before he went to bed. It will show that he picked up the bloody knife, well aware, and he'll admit he was aware that that knife had been used to kill this young man. He picks it up, and he takes it to the kitchen and puts it next to the sink. That's as far as he got at that point with it. Destroyed the evidence. His background? He was a butcher. And of everyone who was in the house at that time, the mother of the deceased, the best friend of the deceased, and Guy Hand is the one who's saying, she did it, she did it, she did it. Right from the start. Your common sense will tell you who inflicted those mortal wounds. Melanie Eum was so horribly frightened by seeing the stabbing of her boyfriend right in front of her eyes by someone, that she got in her car and she drove like a bat out of hell, and went to a family member in Maryland.
Guy Hand was a key witness for the prosecution. He testified that around 9:30 p.m. that night, he took half a Valium before going to bed. Since he had already napped earlier in the day, he was worried he might have trouble sleeping. The medication had been legally prescribed to him. His girlfriend, Nicola, wore earplugs to bed, a detail that, according to prosecutors, explained why the couple didn't immediately wake during the chaos of the attack. When they finally did wake up, it was to the sound of Jeff's frantic screams, shouting for someone to call 911.
911, something, it was startled.
And at that point, is it loud enough that you wake up?
Oh, yes.
At that point in time, are you still in bed when you hear the noise?
Yes.
Is Nicola still in bed at the time that you're hearing this noise?
Yes.
What do you do once you hear the noise?
Jump out of it. I see Jeff. He's screaming, dial 911 or help or something. And I see James sitting on the floor kind of up against the bed.
And you say sitting, is he in a proper seated position?
Kind of slumped.
With Jeff's help, James was lifted onto the bed and laid flat so they could begin CPR. Guy grew emotional on the witness stand as he recalled that moment, realizing, while desperately trying to save James's life, that it was already too late.
Now, at this point, so even though it wasn't helping you, you continued to try to help James.
Yes.
Was there a point where you could see that James, that you lost him?
I watched the light come out of his eyes. I picked up the knife with these 3 fingers and walked it down the hall and laid it on the counter by the trash can, just so no one would kick it and cut their toes.
During cross-examination, Attorney Lear pressed Guy Hand with tough questions. Wasn't it his knife that had been used to kill James Barry? And why did he move it from the crime scene? Investigators had photographed a kitchen towel lying beside the weapon. Lear suggested that Guy might have used that towel to wipe the knife clean, erasing potential evidence.
You left the murder scene at the request of the police carrying a butcher knife.
I wasn't carrying it like that.
Were you carrying it?
Yes.
So you were outside, about to be questioned by the police. You had already moved the murder weapon, and you now decided to wash your hand, correct?
Guy Hand also testified that he had received CPR training roughly 10 to 15 times throughout his life. Because of that, he took over from Jeff when he came upon the scene that night. But during cross-examination, the defense questioned why Guy had failed to follow the most basic CPR protocol, laying the patient flat on a hard surface. By his own admission, James had already collapsed on the floor. So why did Guy move him onto a soft, plush bed, where CPR would be far less effective? Guy's answer was simple and emotional. He said he was in shock, traumatized, and simply did the best he could under the circumstances.
Did you have any reason to harm Mr. James Barry? Did you, on the morning of November 17, 2016, did you stab and kill James Barry?
No, I did not.
I do not. Any further questions?
The testimonies of Nicola Berry and Jeff Jarzbowski were consistent with Guy Hand's account of that night. Jeff told the court that he didn't actually see Melanie attack his friend. What he remembered most was James's voice, shouting for him, warning him to run from danger. As James collapsed to the floor, Jeff testified that he saw Guy rushing out from the other bedroom, forcing his way into the room in an effort to help.
At the time that you saw Guy Hand coming out of the bedroom, did he have blood all over him?
No.
Did he appear as if he had just woken up?
Yes.
Nicola told the jury that Guy was lying beside her in bed when she woke to the sound of Jeff's desperate calls for help. Though she didn't witness Guy performing CPR, she testified that they left the house together as emergency responders arrived. At that moment, she saw Guy grab the knife from the room and later drop it on the counter. At no point, Nicola said, did she see him wipe it down or attempt to clean it in any way. Melanie Eum, meanwhile, chose not to take the stand in her own defense. The prosecution closed by highlighting the hurt and anger she had expressed after James ended their relationship. She had told Detective Oliver that she was heartbroken, that the pain felt so intense it was as if her own heart might stop. And then, the prosecutor said, she decided to stop his instead.
November 16th of 2016, James Barry broke Melanie Eum's heart. And so she, a few hours later, came to his home and stabbed him right above his heart, in his chest. Stabbed him. And she did it. And then immediately after she did it, she fled. So she tells Detective Oliver in that statement of her own details, where she got the knife, the fact that it was from the drawer, that James ran off. She didn't chase him, but James ran off. Trying to save his own life, ran off for help. And that's when he started screaming to Jeff, and that's when she hustled out.
The defense maintained that Guy Hand was the real killer, that he had committed a brutal, bloody murder, then devised a twisted plan to pin it on an innocent, terrified teenager. They argued that Melanie wasn't a murderer at all. She was simply a traumatized girl, caught in the web of a man's deception and a flawed investigation.
CPR trained. Does it on the bed. Nicola Berry wearing earplugs. And he locked all the doors before he went to sleep. These are facts you cannot just ignore. You can't just ignore that with, what did the MEs and medical examiner say? 8 slices, 10 slices, double blood vessels? Where's the blood if the occupant of this sweater is the one who did it?
After 10 hours of deliberation, the jury returned to the courtroom, deadlocked. But this wasn't a simple split between guilty and not guilty. Instead, the jurors couldn't agree on which charge applied. Out of 6 jurors, 4 believed Melanie was guilty of second-degree murder with a weapon, while 2 felt her actions amounted only to manslaughter. In Florida law, second-degree murder requires intent. Manslaughter, on the other hand, implies recklessness, not intent to kill. Unable to reach a unanimous decision, the judge declared a mistrial. A new jury would have to decide what really happened inside that house. When the retrial began in January 2019, both sides stuck to their original stories. The defense repeated its claim. that the knife's bent blade proved it had been driven with great force, something far more consistent with the strength of an adult male, not a 90-pound teenage girl. The prosecution, however, doubled down on Melanie's own confession. If she was innocent, they asked, why didn't she tell investigators who the real killer was? Why didn't she even hint that she was a witness, not the attacker? Instead, she described the stabbing herself, even admitting that she couldn't remember how many times she struck him. "It's not like I was counting," she had said.
More than once? She says yes. That's what she says on the tape. And ladies and gentlemen, because she's not counting how many times she stabs him, does not negate her guilt, doesn't negate her intent. If you actually listen to what she said, it's not like I was counting how many times it actually hit. She is just continuously trying to stab him. Not even paying attention to the hits, just going at it again and again. And ladies and gentlemen, that is the act of second-degree murder. Because at that time, she has so much hatred for him. She has so much hatred for him. And a depraved mind at the time that she's acting like this.
We find the jury finds us law. We find the defendant guilty of second-degree murder as contained in the information.
At Melanie's sentencing hearing, the clinical and forensic psychologist took the stand. She testified that Melanie had been a victim of long-term physical and sexual abuse, inflicted by her own mother. It was the first time such claims had ever been brought up in court, but the prosecution pushed back, noting that the allegations were only self-reported by Melanie and a cousin. There were no police records, no social service reports, and no outside witnesses to confirm the abuse ever happened. Judge Glenn Kelly said he had considered a life sentence, but there were other factors to weigh. Melanie's young age, her clean criminal record, and the fact that the conviction was for second-degree murder, not premeditated. Finally, Judge Kelly delivered his decision. 50 years in prison. If she serves her full term, Melanie Eum will be over 70 years old when she walks free. Thank you for watching this episode. If you found this story compelling, don't forget to subscribe for more true crime cases just like this one. Share your thoughts about this case in the comments below. We'd love to hear your opinion.